Hey everybody, welcome to WP Roundtable episode 118. My name is Kyle Maurer, coming at you from Jackson, Michigan, doing WordPress stuff here. And I've got a special guest with us today. We are talking to AJ Morris, the WordPress Product Manager at Liquid Web. How you doing tonight, AJ?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing well, and I should correct myself. It's not really nighttime quite yet where you are at today. You are not at home, which is, as I understand,
No.
it's in the vicinity of Lansing normally, but right now you're in Phoenix.
Yeah, out here for WordCamp Phoenix, and we have an office out here as well with about 10 developers or so, and so we're out working on some of our newest product offerings this week, and really trying to hit the strategy sessions hard this week to be able to kind of set us up for the next couple of months.
That's fantastic. That's pretty exciting. And I look forward to talking in greater detail about some of those projects that you guys are working on. Liquid Web is advancing rapidly, and you're pretty involved in some interesting things. So we're going to get there, and we're going to learn a little bit more about your, AJ, and your background. First thing, though, we're going to talk about our quick picks of the week. So this is just a part of the show where everybody shares something interesting. Today, I'm the only host for this show. Often I have some colleagues joining us, but they were detained. But my quick pick of the week is an article that really made the rounds last week. If you haven't read it, this is almost not a very good quick pick because pretty much everybody's already read it. But Pippin wrote a great article about page builders, and he had been working on this comprehensive review for quite some time. So it was pretty cool when he finally released it. We'd talked before about the work he was doing on this article, and so there was a lot of anticipation to read the final consensus. But Pippin is a plugin guru. He really knows his stuff, and he has some strong opinions. He expressed them in this article. He did some very extensive testing for a lot of these popular page builders, and page builders are all the rage these days. They're kind of shaking up the WordPress market and, in theory, allowing a lot of people to do pretty powerful things on their own. But there's some nuances to the whole topic, and Pippin covered it pretty well in the article, and I learned a lot. I certainly am grateful to him for doing it so that I don't have to. I certainly have no interest in extensively testing all of these wonderful page building plugins. So check it out on pippin'splugins.com, the latest article, a review of page builders. AJ, do you have any quick pick to share?
So mine, I think this week would be realworldfreelancing.com. It's a book that Carrie Dills and Diane Kinney are putting out that really help. What I was understanding when Carrie was talking about it is it's like in a easy to digest, easy to read ebook that you're able to get up and started with your own freelancing business. So it looks like it talks about everything from client management to business strategies to even mental health. So it should be a pretty good book when that's out.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's a great choice. I know that they're working really hard on it, and I have a lot of respect for those people. I know that they're going to produce something that's super high quality. So I can't wait until it's released so that we can begin sharing it and recommending it to more people. I wish them all the best with their project. So
Yeah,
thanks for
sure.
sharing that, AJ. Okay, so at this point, for those maybe very few tuning in who don't know all about AJ Morrison's background, let's dive into that just a little bit so we can set the stage and learn about who you are and where you come from. So first and foremost, let's go way back and talk about when you were young and before your career really got on track, long before you were doing great things in WordPress. What is it that you really set out to do?
Yeah, for sure. So it's kind of funny because we're both in Michigan, and we've probably only seen each other at a couple of WordCamps or meetups over the years. I actually come from a small town, Owasso, a little far, about 45 minutes to maybe an hour away from Jackson. My dad is an entrepreneur, so he started a bike store. They've been in business for 40. I think they're going on 45 years this year, 44, 45 years. So definitely big into the community there, big bike racing either from BMX to mountain biking. Grew up right as really being whatever I could do and doing whatever I could do to look at bicycles from an interesting perspective of owning a store. So kind of got away from that in high school and started kind of picking up computers. They were getting to be popular in the late 90s and early 2000s, and really kind of found my space doing web design and web development back there. So I remember I had graduated high school, and a year later I was running my school district's website for them, building HTML pages with Dreamweaver. So that was a lot of fun and taught me a lot about just kind of basic front end development there. Kind of moved from that and went into WordPress was kind of the growing thing. A couple years later, hey, let's look at how we can have some sort of a content management system that's got a database in the back end, and you're able to give more people a website. And so I played around with that for a few years, and I don't remember who it was exactly turned me onto Ruby on Rails. So I left the WordPress community, I think like 2004, 2005. Right when they were first getting into themes, and went and did Ruby on Rails for a couple of years. And when I came back to Michigan, it was just Ruby on Rails development, and nobody wanted to pay the high cost of custom development back then. And so I remember going back and saying, well, I'll give WordPress a try. And since then, that was probably 2008, 2009. I've been solely doing WordPress work, either from a development standpoint or from maintenance to different customers.
Fantastic. So you did a little bit of freelancing for a while then?
Yeah. I had my own freelance company. It was called Surfcubes, surfcubes.com, I believe is the address. I had that up until 2012. I took a full-time job in 2012 running a software company's development team, actually building out WordPress and a membership site. And so I stopped the agency and did that for the last couple of years. And most recently have moved over to Liquid Web as a product manager for Managed WordPress.
Fantastic. So I always like talking a little bit about some of the early freelancing days and how all of us developed our skill set and learned hard lessons about how this industry works, and then of course interacting with clients is always a fun and exciting adventure. So can you tell us a little bit about some of the early clients that you were privileged enough to serve? How did you get them? How did you get other clients from them? What sort of projects were you doing for them over the course of your freelance career?
Yeah, so I started, I remember my first couple of sites were actually, I went to the local Chamber of Commerce and kind of just found some people that didn't, businesses that were a part of the chamber but didn't have a website, and actually went up to him and said, hey, I'm Rick, Rick's son, he owns a bike store here in town, and I want to build a website for you. And that really kind of helped get the conversation going into, oh, hey, yeah, I want a website, but I don't have the money right now. And so I'd kind of show them, build them something quick, show them what it was and what they could have. And that really kind of convinced them into saying, hey, we do want to get on this, again, so to speak. This was kind of circa 2005, really. So small town, small community really kind of came together, and I ended up having probably of the local community had a website within a year. It's kind of funny, local communities as compared to WordPress community, relationships is key, and so getting my foot in the door in that local community really helped provide for the first couple of years. And then venturing out, I found a theme called Headway, and I started building sites with Headway, and that actually got me a ton of work. The Headway community wasn't so so kind of as it has been in recent years. And so they were always recommending people, go to kind of a few of their top affiliates. I was remember inbound marketing was not really a thing back then either, and I had about a 5 or 6 kind of email blog post series that kind of provided a way for people that were finding my site to actually go in and build their own website. Here's kind of step 1, step 2, step 3, and so on. And by the end of it, it was, if you don't want to do all that yourself, you could hire me to do that. And that was really kind of where I stepped out and branched out into kind of a more global space. I wasn't so focused on the local community anymore. Headway really provided me as a kind of a stepping stone to that the global community. Kind of see grow, especially over the last few years as WordCamps and WordPress has gained in even more popularity. So yeah, I mean it's been a fun ride. It's been a lot of fun picking up new and interesting clients, and actually working with clients from a global area, right? Working with clients from Italy and Germany as well. So.
Do you have any great horror stories from the past that we all have them, those clients, maybe those projects that we thought would never end and were anything but fun at the time, but now we look back and hopefully laugh a little bit about the lessons we learned?
Yeah. There was this one client. She was great in that she wanted. She knew exactly what she wanted. She knew. Before I even had written any code, I had pretty much had all my revisions done for her. I had worked with her for a number of years, and the last kind of time I'd worked with her, she wanted this site redesign, but she wanted it for much cheaper than she'd ever paid anything else, and it was a hard sell to really get her to look at buying something on, as Adam decides to come in here and.
Ready? Yeah, I gotta go home.
Well, yeah. So she, she was good, but she was really hard in wanting to, just know what she wanted, but also be able to, wanted to pay. She was set in stone to pay a certain amount, and it wasn't going to come out for her the way that she wanted. So. It was an interesting way.
I have no doubt, and certainly lots of similar stories. It's a tricky thing to navigate for all of us. But so after your freelancing career, you spent a little time after discovering Headway working for Headway, and that was a couple years of your career, and got you more involved in a more global community, as I understand it. So how did that come about, and what were those couple years like?
Yeah. So I'd been doing some development work for customers, and really had my freelance business kind of going. And I remember it was they were getting ready to just add a couple new support people, and I was looking for something that was just bringing me in a couple $1,000s a month. And they said, hey, you traffic to build sites. Why don't we look at bringing you on board to do support? People know that you're kind of giving back to the community, and so I spent 2 years kind of building up from support to working with development and working with Clay and actually building out Headway. Spent some time in the blog space and really providing kind of how-to videos for the community. It's where I met Adam, and it was a lot of fun. It was good to interact with the community more from a global perspective than just kind of hey, what's in Michigan or what's in my local area. So they provided me that stepping stone really to kind of go from that local reach to a much larger audience.
I'd like to move into kind of what you're working on now, if we could. So tell us a little bit about let's start broadly. Let's talk about what like Liquid Web
Sure.
is. Introduce us, for those who don't know or aren't too familiar with Liquid Web and its offering and what's
Yeah.
really unique about this company. Give us a little bit of background.
Yeah, so Liquid Web was founded in 1997 by Matt Hill is his name. He was a entrepreneur that he started out in his basement, and he wanted to web hosting business. He didn't really like anything that was out there. Really wanted to kind of do it himself, and so he spent the last 15, 16 years really building it into a 90 plus $1 million company is what we're at now. Liquid Web was purchased by a private equity firm, Madison Dearborn Partners out of Chicago, and they brought in a new executive team. And through kind of the idea and the process of bringing on a new executive team and actually being bought by a private equity firm, there's a process called due diligence. And so some of that due diligence was just really understanding the customer base and being able to provide a solid understanding and a solid footing of what the business was like. And one of the things that they realized was that many of us in the WordPress community, but to a lot of people, I think at Liquid Web, it was 51% of our server instances were running at least one WordPress site. And when we kind of further dug into that, we were end of last year, we were able to find that we had about 200,000 WordPress sites that are being hosted with Liquid Web. So not a small feat by any mean, but not really known into the WordPress community at large. And so we've been spending the last year on a number of fronts trying to understand how people in the WordPress community had found Liquid Web and why they chose to host with Liquid Web, who was really not known in the WordPress community, but then also trying to build better products for the WordPress developers and designers that are out there, in a freelance or agency capacity. So my role has kind of been two steps. One is really providing with a presence in the WordPress community, so attending a lot of WordCamps, going to meetups, really interacting with people on a relational level, and then two is actually building products out for managed WordPress offerings. And so we've just recently released our latest dashboard that really provides kind of a easy to use, easy to install WordPress, and get your site up and running really quickly.
That's pretty cool. I'd love to dive in a little bit deeper into what it is that you spend a lot of your time doing day to day. Maybe walk us through a typical day and outline your primary responsibilities.
Yeah, sure. So my typical day starts, I usually check my email in the morning and really try to see if there's any items that I need to address in the day. I typically do that before I even get to work, just so that I've kind of started out the day fresh and I'm able to really get into the office and focus on things. Is meetings. It's meeting with a support team or operations or sales teams to really understand, what pain points are our customers having, what feedback are we getting from customers, and then how to incorporate that into a product roadmap with our development team. So our development team, the majority of them are actually in Lansing, Michigan, but the press team is out here in Phoenix, and so they're a few hours behind us. I think we're about 3 hours behind Eastern time right now, and so that provides me with most of my morning to really be able to kind of set the stage for how the development team is going to be working on different features and problems that our customers are experiencing. I kind of end the day with kind of a recap of all of that into some different reports to then report out to various departments of the company as to what we're working on, where things are going, how sales are doing, how's marketing going. So That's a typical day. I'd like to say that I have a lot of those, but in the hosting world, there's no such thing as a typical day, really. So.
I know you're right. It can be very complicated. I would like to go into maybe some of your goals, if we could. So describe it to me,
Yeah.
if you could. You look into the future, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, maybe 2 years into the future. You keep doing what you're doing and working hard at it, and you look back. What are things going to look like in order for you to say, I was pretty successful? I did what I set out to do, and I did a good job, and I made the impact I wanted to make, and Liquid Web is better off for it. What's that going to look like?
Yeah, so I think, as any product manager, we all have revenue goals that we have to meet, and that's one thing. But the thing that I think that really kind of, if I were to look back, this, call it 5 years ahead, and I were to look back at this time, I think that the thing that makes it a success to me is really being able to build a product that's really changed the way people think about that industry. So taking a look at managed WordPress hosting, for instance, the unique things that kind of drew me to this position was that it wasn't just a SaaS-based company. It was actually a hosting company that owns their own data centers, that works from anything from somebody putting a box on a rack in a data center to the salesperson that you're speaking with on the phone, or even a support person that you're speaking with on the phone. I look at that and I think that if the industry, the way that a SaaS-based company has advocated and changed the industry in terms of how we host WordPress sites, and we've all made it for the better. I think that's kind of my success.
Fascinating. I know that hosting has evolved and changed so much, in particular in our subset of this industry, the WordPress space. When I started doing this, hosting was drastically different. It was much simpler, I suppose, but it also sucked a lot more. It was a necessary evil, and there was just, you want to use cPanel on this host or that host, and that's really all there is. And don't mention WordPress to a support person or they'll hang up on you. And today, the industry has changed drastically, and there's a tremendous amount of innovation. It's competitive in a way that really benefits us, the WordPress users. And I see all kinds of hosts just trying tons of new things, Liquid Web included. And so I'd just be curious to get some of your reflections on this, what seems to me from an outside the host perspective, rapid evolution of the, in particular, WordPress hosting industry, and all the crazy innovation that's going on, and how fast it's moving. Just some reflections on how things have changed and how you see it.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because I've been fortunate enough to meet a host for all these years, and I think that when I look back to my freelancing days, we spent a lot of time as freelancers kind of having to configure servers, and then somewhere along the way, Josh Strobel from Pagely and Jason Cohen from WP Engine really kind of set the bar to a new way for WordPressers to really not have to be system administrators, right? They said, hey, you know what? We're going to take WordPress, and we're going to find a better way to install it, to manage it, to keep it performant, have a better way to a better experience almost to have different right, and now we look at it, several years later since that industry really started, and you look at like the GoDaddy managed WP acquisition, right? You've started to see kind of GoDaddy get into a managed WordPress space. You've seen that kind of build, launch, manage framework that we all use as freelancers and first building sites. You look at that and you think, a lot of that build and launch capability has always been something that the managed WordPress space has used. And one of the things that was the growing trend has actually been managed WP, iThemes Sync, infinite WP, right? How can I manage all these sites that I'm now hosting to be able to do things like updating plugins and updating these themes, or taking backups, or adding users? And I think that's kind of where the space is going to go, right? It's going to go to the simpler view, so to speak. We look at the beginning, and it was cPanel based, and you kind of had to know what you were doing, and you then had WP Engine and Pagely out there, and now I think you're going to get a new breed of managed WordPress products that are really providing the simple and easy to use tools kind of all in one place for and developers to really just be able to do what they're good at, right, and what they want to do, which is to build that site for clients and themselves.
Do you think that the definition of a web host has become very blurry? And I would say that, if I were to throw out some other kind of business, a plumbing company, a roofing company, some other traditional business, and I suggest that to you, and you have a vision in your mind of what that company does, it'll probably, very likely, align very well with the vision that I have in my head. Very, very similar. However, if I said a web hosting company, do you think we've gotten to a weird point where it's like, what do you mean web hosting company? Things are a little bit blurry, and the definition is much looser, and there's a lot more diversity in this industry.
Yeah, I think with WordPress.com and Squarespace kind of coming out, and even Wix and some of these other kind of website builder SaaS products, the hosting industry is really at a unique kind of pivot place, and you either have to with tools and products that compete with those, or you have to really kind of build those yourself. And so the thing I always think of is as a hosting company, it's one of those things that you tend to buy into once, and as long as you have a good experience with them, you're always just going to use them. You don't, I was using this phrase over the weekend. You don't wake up one day and say, I'm gonna try a new web host, right? You typically experience a problem with your hosting provider, right? You might have experienced some downtime, or maybe there's all of a sudden your e-commerce site was hacked, and some personal information got out, or something like that. And the hosting industry is saying, hey, let us take care of that for you, similar to how you rely on Squarespace and Wix, and really provide that kind of tech department or tech company or services that you would normally hire somebody for, and really entrust with us and partner with us to be able to provide that for you, so you're able to really just get back to doing what you're doing and creating the sites that you want to do.
You raise an interesting point, and I think that is maybe not something I've reflected on too much or really appreciated, but host is one of those kinds of businesses where, just like you said, you're acquiring customers only in two scenarios. One, that this is their first time needing a host, and two, they've had a bad experience with another host. And so there are a number of industries that are like that. I know my wife used to work at a bank, and they feel very similarly, that generally a customer is a customer until they've got a problem, and then they look for somewhere else, and everybody has their bank, just like same with a web host.
Yeah.
How does that kind of influence your thought process when you, looking back, you've worked in different industries, different places where this isn't exactly the case. How does it influence the decisions that you make and the products that you develop, knowing that you really have to capitalize on those fleeting opportunities where a customer is trying to make that selection, and knowing that you've got this one chance to get the customer, and that's probably the only chance you'll get?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing is being able to provide the tools that your kind of target audience really wants, right? And so, part of my job, which isn't necessarily included in my typical day, I have a lot of inputs that help shape some of the decision making, but is really understanding your target audience, right? And so in any business, you always want to know what your audience is and what are the pain points that they have. And I think you really hit the nail on the head, right? There's two ways that hosting companies actually acquire new customers. One is it's their first website, it's their first kind of foray into the internet world of an e-commerce site that you want to launch, or you're going to start up a website and blog about something, or the other option, which is really experiencing some sort of a pain point with your current provider, and which then kind of causes you to say, okay, well, I guess I need to have a new host because I've experienced this problem a few times, or livelihood of running your site is down for too many days and you're losing money at that point. I think that approaching one is target audience. You're able to see what kind of new features that you're looking for. As we were kind of building out our dashboard product, the things that we were toying around with is we're not newcomers we are newcomers to the managed WordPress space, but we've been in the managed hosting space for 17 plus years, and so one of the things that we kind of had said let's really focus on is getting the experience for the basics right. And so today, if you go buy managed WordPress hosting, you're going to get is not a full feature set to somebody else like WP Engine or Pagely, right? You're going to get kind of the bare necessities, the things that you really need to run your site, right? You need to create a website. You need to maybe migrate your site over from an existing hosting provider. You need backups. You need restores and files. And so we've really tried to cater our experience to around building those, because as you look to really get customer, that's kind of the base. It sets a good foundation, right, to being able to add those new features. Then you can start to really interact with your customers and say, okay, so how is using this product and what does that workflow look like for maybe a developer has a Git type workflow, and so they're really focused on using Git. What does that workflow look like, and how does our target audience, our kind of our segment of target audience look for those features, and what are those features, so that we can then look at building them in. We then can kind of to take another look at saying what type of infrastructure options do you have as a hosting provider first. We have all types of hosting options for you, and so what are the needs that those customers have, and that really enables that kind of hosting industry to kind of have one up, or a competitive advantage to kind of the SaaS-based players in this space, as they're using other hosting providers to build the infrastructure that they need.
Liquid Web has been in the news, I've seen a couple times this year. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about some of the more noteworthy changes at the company. I've read some press releases about being on the Inc. 5000's fastest growing companies again for the 10th straight year, I believe. And also some acquisition moves and new offices and things like that. What's the new stuff going on at Liquid Web that's interesting?
Yeah, so we have been on the Inc. 500 list, or 5,000 list, for the last 10 years, I believe it is. So we're just rapidly growing. We grow. We have a very successful support department, right? Our support is really top notch. We train system administrators so that you, as a customer, end up getting the best experience possible for in the industry. So with that, we've just been constantly hiring new people in to really kind of provide that value to our customers. Kind of a recent acquisition that we've had is we've recently closed on the purchase of Cloud Sites, which was a Rackspace product. And so Cloud Sites is really a multi-redundant, easily scalable solution that really, from a liquid web standpoint, gives us a new tool in our toolbox that allows you to not just have a single VPS or a dedicated server, but really have a kind of no single point of failure setup, something that you're able to just put your site on and not have the confidence to feel that site's always going to be up and you're not going to experience any amount of downtime. With that came about 70 employees. So we will be opening an office down in San Antonio here the next few months as they kind of continue that transition process.
That's pretty exciting. So
Yeah.
all of this has happened within your first year with the company?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. They had a fun ride.
Do you see anything else new, really big on the horizon?
Not that I can talk about, I suppose. Just you'll have to keep watching out for us, right? Yeah, you almost got it.
Yeah.
But no. In serious note, I mean, definitely be checking out our WordPress, our managed WordPress offering, where we were able to hit a couple of key milestones, and we've got a few kind of surprises in the works for the rest of the year as we kind of to round it out this year and even going into next year. So pretty exciting things happening on our side, and they should be a lot of fun.
I'm curious if maybe you could comment on, you've been like you said, liquid web determined, investing in WordPress. This is worthwhile. Our customers are using WordPress, and it's a growing market, and it's something worth investing in. So let's create this managed WordPress product. Let's get AJ, just going gangbusters on the WordPress world. And that's been happening for a little while now. When you look at the results and conversations had at the company and planning strategic meetings, do you think you're in a situation where you're thinking, we're doing pretty good, let's keep doing what we're doing? We accomplished what we set out to. Maybe let's dial it back, or do we ramp it up? This is working, and let's increase our involvement in this community.
Yeah, I think from my vantage point, anyways, I think that what we're doing has been pretty successful, and so that we're seeing more and more resources into our development and providing new features to our existing customers and even customers that we acquire through other means. And so expect to see that in the next year is just to see us continuing to invest in the WordPress community. You look at WordPress is run by 25% of the web, and that number continues to grow every year. And so I think that we'll, as we continue to see that trend, I think there's space for all different types of hosting providers to kind of find their own niche in a managed WordPress. I think you'll start to see us fit in our niche, and we'll continue to ramp up in that area.
That's exciting. Something that I think maybe you have interesting perspective on, and just maybe fun to talk about. There's a lot of different people building websites, and I know I recently listened to an interview with someone from, I think it was GoDaddy, talking about how they surveyed their customers and discovered that actually more than half of site owners indicated that the actual site was developed by someone for them, by some professional, which they hired. And so how does this affect a host, knowing that on one hand you have maybe half of your customers trying to figure this out on their own, going all DIY, and on the other half, or maybe more than half, you have professionals who may or may not know what they're doing it on behalf of another client. I've seen this shake up things at other hosting companies who try their best to bridge the gap and serve these customers better. How do you think it affects a host, and in particular, Liquid Web?
Yeah, kind of talking about that due diligence for a bit, that was one of the things that we spent a lot of time understanding was who are our customers. And surprisingly, we found that the majority of them are actually freelancers or agency owners that are building sites for, and then they end up hosting and doing some sort of a recurring revenue as they build those sites out. The other kind of secondary nature really was around what you just said is that they are a site for someone, business or a person that's a blogger or something like that, and then they need somewhere to host it, and so people would say, hey, go to Liquid Web or go to these other companies. And so I think that you see a mix of that in the hosting space, and as we start to understand our customers better and really provide a better way for us to and products for them, it becomes it's almost a cat and mouse game. Which one do we do first, and how do we provide the best tools that both of those kind of segments can build. A lot of times, the things that a hosting provider can really do is build tools that both kind of segments can do. Right? You need to have backups. You need your site to be secure. To restore your site in the event that or your site was hacked, and so kind of looking at a tool set around those really hits both of those segments, and it's a unique value to be able to kind of go to one place and buy not just hosting but to buy those capabilities as well.
Do you think there's any unique challenges in the WordPress space or serving the WordPress space, or maybe even some frustrations that you may have with the state of WordPress professionals, people providing professional WordPress services? It's kind of a wild west right now. People with varying skill sets and approaches and opinions providing any number of services to the public that needs it. What are your thoughts, candid thoughts, on the state of the WordPress professional today?
Yeah, if I were to try to segment it out, I would probably say there's the do-it-yourselfer, right? The somebody that's just gonna they've maybe built a website or two and realize that, hey, they could make some quick money that way, and so they buy a theme, they do some minor tweaks to it, maybe and they're off and running, right? And they're making $500, $1,000 to host or to build that site, and then you look at the next segment, which is kind of you've advanced from that kind of do-it-yourselfer or beginner stage, and you've now said, hey, I see the potential here, but I also see the value, and I need to charge more for this value. And I think that's where the most of dense population of kind of WordPress professional lives is in this, call it $5,000 to $10,000 projects live, and they're building custom themes, custom plugins that might hook into other plugins, and they're really that's where I think all of us want to, and that's something that I had aspired to be when I was starting out, was really getting into that group. I think the last group that you see is kind of these enterprise. These are developers that are building not just themes and custom plugins, but they're also building into other tools, right? They could be building into some some SaaS product, some API product that helps, call it restaurants, to be able to put menus online, but also take online orders, or a membership site that is running millions of queries a month using a software-based SaaS product, but using WordPress as the management system that really provides their kind of members with an authentication account and things like that. You look at what Pippin's doing with easy digital downloads and really being able to use WordPress and EDD as a software licensing tool for anything from a Mac application to a Windows application to a theme or a plugin in the WordPress space. I think that you kind of see that really advancing into the enterprise. Focus is not just doing things with WordPress, but it's using WordPress as a core and then kind of snapping in other parts and pieces into it to really make that experience a unique one.
Right on. Yeah, it's an interesting time. So, what are some of the things that you like to do in these parts in your spare time, AJ?
Well, I love photography, so I try to take a camera with me just about everywhere I go, and baby at home, so I spend a lot of time taking pictures of my wife and daughter. Last weekend we went up to Uncle John's cider mill. I'm sure you're familiar with, and we're able to spend some quality time together after a hectic fall WordCamp season. Michigan is great for cabins in the summer, and my in-laws were recently had purchased a cabin, so it's been fun to go up there and relax and hang out. So it's for me it's work and hard work and hard play, and then being able to really just enjoy that relaxation time when I'm out and done working. So
fantastic. So it's been a busy WordCamp season for you recently. Yeah. Can you look at your calendar and tell us where any kind of event might somebody bump into AJ Morris in the foreseeable future? So
the rest of the year is pretty light travel, surprisingly. We'll have Ann Arbor here in a couple of weeks, so we'll be down there for that. I'll be at Cabo Press this fall in November, and then WordCamp US, and that'll be my travel year. So looking forward to being able to be home and spend the holidays with family.
One WordPress event per month isn't too much to ask, right?
No, not at all.
All right. So do you have any great recommendations for guests that I should invite on the show in the future?
Oh, that is a good question. I don't think I have anybody right now. I think you've really had a good kind of powerhouse of guests as of late. So it's been exciting to watch.
Well, thanks, AJ. That's the best way to get out of answering that question, I think.
Yeah. And then, of course, you made me laugh, so now I'm going to have to cough.
Do you have a favorite WordPress plugin?
Ooh. For years it was Gravity Forms. I purchasing that back when it was kind of you paid one price, you got lifetime updates, and we've seen that most plugins have kind of really moved away from that. And so I've used Gravity Forms for years just to really of form related. But I had the pleasure of meeting James Lowe at Ninja Forms. I think it was at the end of July, and I gave Ninja Forms a try, and I've been really excited to see kind of where they're going and what they've done with their latest product. I think they call it Ninja Forms 3, and being able the work that they've done, the UI that they've really taken and enhanced, and just all the add-ons that they've been building out. I think that if I were to build a new site right now, I would definitely be giving that one a try. So
Fantastic. Yeah. So if you were not working with WordPress or working in a hosting company, what do you think you could see yourself doing?
I would probably be a front-end web developer somewhere. That's the skill set I've developed over the years, and so whether it's WordPress or Ruby on Rails or being able to do front-end development, it's kind of always been my passion, and so I would definitely be continuing that somewhere.
Have you read any good books or watched any good movies that you recommend these days?
Oh man. There's a good book. I have to look at who it is. It's called Positioning. I will have to give it over to you in the show notes here. Mm-hmm. But it's really talking about. It's called Positioning: The Battle of Your Mind by Al Rise. It's kind of an older book, built in, but it really takes a look at getting into your perspectives, your prospective customers' mindset, and really trying to position your product, whatever your product is. It could be a service, right? Your product or service into kind of your strengths and your weaknesses. And really kind of pushing how you differentiate yourself between the competitors that you consider your product to be a competitor against. And so that's provided a lot of good insight into branding and marketing and even product management, which is really just getting an understanding of how to differentiate yourself in a crowded space.
One other thing, can you confirm or deny whether you were, as some people would assert, the model for this caricature?
Well, today I'm Clark Kent. Tomorrow I'll be the hero.
All right. Well, AJ, it's been a fun discussion. I'm really appreciative of you for taking the time out of your day to spend talking with me and enlightening us on what's going on at Liquid Web and what's been happening with your career. I'm really excited about hanging out with you in less than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
At the very exciting WordCamp Ann Arbor, which I'm stoked about and a little bit overwhelmed with the amount of stuff I still have to do, but it's going to be good. It's going to be good. So I can't wait to hang out. And thanks for your time this evening.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
All right, AJ, I'm going to let you go. And that's episode 118. We'll talk soon.
All right, sounds good.